Hi, and welcome to the Access Direct Opening Bell, your essential pre-market podcast. In just minutes, get key global updates, overnight trends, and market-moving factors that set the tone for the day. Whether you're a seasoned trader or just someone tracking the markets, this is your go-to briefing to stay ahead at all times. So let's dive straight in. Good morning, it is Wednesday and we will start with US stocks, which did another U-turn yesterday as the Trump administration doubled down on its tariff plans, especially against China. The S&P 500 ended 1.6% down after being up over 4% at one point during the day, while the Nasdaq 100 and the Dow fell 2% and 0.8% respectively. The reversal lower came as the Oval Office confirmed 104% tariffs on China starting at midnight, with the latter reciprocating with counter threats. Additionally, the rally in treasury yields made investors more nervous. In other markets, the VIX ended above 52. The dollar fell while the US 10-year yield climbed for the second straight day. Bitcoin dropped for the third session in 4. Gold ended flat despite all the volatility, while NYMEX crude fell for the fourth straight day to finish under $60 a barrel. Coming home, and the rupee fell to a 2-week low, weighed down by escalating trade tensions between the US and China. The currency dropped 0.5% to finish the day at 86.23, with strategists expecting it to come under further pressure if China devalues the yuan as a response to the tariff announcements from the Trump administration. The RBI meets today and the consensus expectation is for them to cut the policy rate by 25 basis points to 6% and change the stance from neutral to accommodative. As we speak, the offshore yuan has dropped to a record low on President Trump's plan to levy additional tariffs on China, and that is expected to affect how the rupee does in the short term. On to domestic stocks, and the Nifty rebounded 374 points to settle at 22,536, while the India VIX fell 10% to finish just over 20. The NSE 500 small cap and mid cap indexes outperformed the Nifty as they rose more. All of the NSE sectors gained, with media surging 4.7% and private banks gaining the least with a 1.3% advance. 90% of the NSE 500 members rose yesterday, somewhat reversing Monday's 97% downside day. The best and worst performers in the Nifty were Jio Financial Services, which rose 5.3%, and Power Grid, which slipped 0.2%. Monday's bullish belt hold line formation triggered yesterday's advance, but a daily close about 22,857 is needed for a larger rally to begin against those lows. Until that happens, the bias will continue to remain soft. For the upcoming session, support lies in the 22,236 to 22,292 zone. Additionally, for this holiday shortened week, bulls need a weekly close about 22,150 for the optimism from yesterday's rebound to stretch into next week. Any failure to do so will be a sign of weakness. Speaking flows, provisional data showed that foreigners withdrew nearly 5,000 crores yesterday. The month-to-date outflow now stands at near 27,700 crores. Rolling on with derivatives, and the Nifty's put-call ratio went from 0.72 to 0.84, while that of the Bank Nifty's was flat near 0.82. Nifty puts added were more than the addition that was seen in calls, and implied volatility fell by nearly 3%, which meant that on a net basis, market participants went short puts yesterday in a bullish tilt. Looking at options concentration for the weekly contract that expires on 9th of April, the trackable range is 22,000 to 23,000, with notable addition being witnessed at the 22,500 put strike and liquidation witnessed at the 22,700 call strike. For the same expiration, volatility traders have also turned bullish, with the demand for slightly out-of-the-money puts falling more than that for similar distance out-of-the-money calls. Speaking net index options activity, foreigners and proprietary traders turned bearish, while retail investors turned bullish. Elsewhere, foreigners' net shorts and index futures increased slightly to 109,000 contracts from 107,000 contracts previously. Looking forward to today's session, the GIFT Nifty was down 240 points at 7 a.m. Asian markets were all trading lower, with Japan and Hong Kong nursing losses of over 3% each. US index futures were also down by an average of 1.7%. Coming to stocks, Chola Finance and Shriram Finance were at horizontal support, while no stock was at horizontal resistance or trendline support. Aptus and Ultratech Cements were at trendline resistance. Talking Bread, 39%, 22% and 18% of stocks in the NSE 500 were above their 50, 100, and 200-day moving averages. Housing data is due today from the US. That is a wrap on the day's podcast. Please note that this podcast serves solely for informational purposes and should not be considered financial advice of any kind. For a comprehensive disclaimer, please visit our website. Thank you, and we will see you tomorrow at the same hour. Good day and take care.
Investments in securities market are subject to market risks. Read all the related documents carefully before investing.